In last class, so we are discussing about the abstract class. Abstract class. What is an abstract class? A class with abstract keyword is nothing but a abstract class. What abstract class will have? Abstract methods and concrete methods. What is the meaning of abstract method? A method without body. A method without body is called as abstract method. Then what is the syntax of it? After access modifier, we have to use the abstract keyword in place of method header, and method has to end with semicolon. That's called as a abstract method. Yeah. And then followed by if a class is having abstract method, then which class is responsible for implementing the body? Child class, because we can't create the object, so we can't access that abstract method. And child class is responsible for implementing the methods of the abstract classes. For a child class to exist, the if there is an abstract class which has multiple abstract methods, then the child class has to implement all the methods to exist, or the child class can implement the required methods, but by declaring itself as abstract class, also child class can exist. This is what we discussed in the last class. Yeah. Then coming to the next part, can abstract class have a constructor? Can abstract class, can it have a constructor? Every class will have a constructor, correct? So but so far for every class, can we create the object or not? Before this abstract class concept, for every class, can we create the object or not? According to whatever we have discussed. Yes. But for abstract class, can we create the object? No. When we don't create the object, when it is not possible to create the object, then is it this class will have a constructor? Yes or no? Come on. Every class will have a constructor. Even abstract class also will have a constructor. The answer is yes. But if it is having, then how do we initialize it? That's the question. Yes or no? So if a class is abstract class, in that if a constructor is there, then how do you initialize that? So for that, let me take one example. The example, so abstract, then class, then some class name, say test. Inside this class, we'll have a constructor. But what is the purpose of constructor? Initialize the instance variable. So for that, I'll take one instance variable. I don't initialize. Then what is constructor syntax? Access modifier, public. The next constructor name same as a class name. To initialize int variable, then it should have int parameter. Yes or no? Then what's the body of this constructor? How to initialize? This dot x equals x again. Constructor parameter variable to be assigned to current class instance variable. So this dot x. So this is the normal constructor. Now, how do we initialize this? By creating object. But is it possible to create the object for this abstract class? Can we create object for abstract classes? No. Then how do you initialize this? So for that, the only possibility for abstract classes is inheritance. Then how do you inherit? Class some test1 which extends test. Inside this class, can we have a constructor? Yes, of course, every class. What's the constructor for this? Public. Yeah, if test and test1 is having any confusion, I'll change the name. I'll change this to it's a sample. Therefore, what is constructor? Public sample, then parenthesis. So in this class, I'm not taking any instance variables. Or shall I take? That becomes little more understanding is required. I'll take it. So here also first in child class called sample class, let me take one instance variable, say int y. Then constructor public, yeah, sample. Then how to initialize this? Into y. Then inside this constructor also, what do you have to write? This dot y, this dot y equals y. Correct? If we pass or if we create the object, now with this syntax from another class, say public class example is one more class. Inside this example class, we have a main method, public static void main method. Inside this main method, which class object we can create? Which class object? Can we create object for test class? It's what type of class? Is it possible to create the object? Abstract class is not possible to create the object. Therefore, only possibility sample class. So class name, object reference name, new keyword, again class name. Then what type of constructor is there? A constructor which takes integer parameter. Can we leave empty? It's error. Then we have to give some integer values input. Then let me give 123. I have given. Now after this, I'll print system.out.println print s1 dot y variable. What's output? 123. Anyone has any doubt? No. Then the important point is this. What is x value? System.out.println print s1 dot x value. Through inheritance, parent class members are available directly for the child class. Therefore, by creating object for child class, we can access both child variable and also parent variable. So I'm accessing. Tell me the output. Will it be initialized or no? X variable x will be initialized or will not be initialized? Then that's not initialization. That's a default value is printed. Correct or not? Is it null for integer? Then what's output? 0 is output. 0 is default. String is null. It will show 0. Default value. So in text here, the default value will become 0. That's all. And we are not initializing it. So in this scenario, we are going to get x value as 0. Clear or not? But I want 100. What to do? When I print x, the output should be 100. What should I do? Or where should I write the code? Where should I write? Super? Super call. Where we have to write the super call? So here, huh? No, but then y value will not be initialized. So here we have to use a super function call. What's the purpose of function call? Calling the parent class constructor. Then when we are calling parent class constructor, what is the parent class constructor signature? What input? Any integer argument you have to pass. Then I'll pass 100. Now because of constructor chain, the value will be initialized as what value? 100 will be the output. Yeah. Yes. Abstract class can have a constructor. The answer is yes. But can we create the object for abstract class directly? No. Then through child class constructor, use a super function call and initialize the abstract class instance variables is the approach. Understood? Any doubts? Hmm. Yeah. into y equals here into y equals super dot x, then y value will become also 0. We are changing y value to 0, but you are not initializing x variable. Then the purpose of constructor is missing now. You can declare directly y constructor then. Understood? So this is the approach. They'll give a question like this. They'll give one abstract class with one variable and they'll ask us to initialize this. This remaining story they'll not say. We have to understand. Abstract class, we can't create the object for abstract class. Therefore, there should be a child class. To initialize a variable, we should have a constructor. Then to call a parent class constructor, we have to use a super function call in the child class constructor as a first line of code. So all those rules we have to implement and we have to initialize this one. Understood or no? Yeah. Done. Next. The next question. So in this class, test is abstract class. Yeah. Which is inherited by non-abstract class. Now my next question. First you understand the question. Can abstract class inherit another class? What's the answer? Yes or no? So first there is a class. There is a class, say public or non-public. Public class, some class say intermediate. There is a class. Inside this class, some variables and some methods are there, concrete, and the values will be initialized, everything, the normal story. Then there is one more class. So this class is abstract class. Abstract class, some class name, say degree. Now what is the question? This is abstract class. Can it inherit some other class? Can abstract class inherit another class is my question. Yes or no? So here the syntax which I wanted to write is extends intermediate. So in all previous examples of abstract class story, we discussed abstract class is inherited by another class. Now here, can abstract class also inherit something? That's the question. So this is syntax if it supports. So what's your answer? Yes or no? So here some variables and also some methods are there. Then go for child class. Now go for one more child class of degree. But syntax is possible or not? Yes. Yeah, the answer is yes. And this is the syntax. Then by default, inheritance means parent class properties will be retrieved by child class by default or directly. So what are the variables and methods are there? They also belongs to class degree. The rule remains same. Inheritance rule remains same, but we can't create object for this degree class. So further child can implement the can create the object for that class, and we can access both abstract methods and also its parent class methods also. So multi-level inheritance. Clear? The next question. The next question is, can abstract class inherit and the abstract class? So is this abstract class? Is this abstract class or no? Not abstract class. Therefore, abstract class can inherit normal class. But my next question is, can abstract class inherit another abstract class? Inherit another abstract class. This is my question. What is your answer? My syntax is, there is a class, okay, abstract class A, abstract, I'm sorry, abstract class name A, then followed by abstract class B extends A is my question, my syntax. So my question, this is the example. Possible or not possible? What's the answer? Yes or no? If no, tell me the reason. So previously, parent class is not an abstract class, but child class is abstract class can inherit another class. Abstract class can inherit another class. But here that another class also abstract class only. That's what the second scenario. Yeah? Yes. Yes, the answer is yes. So whatever we have, abstract class need not to have abstract methods. So here whatever the abstract methods we have, or concrete methods we have, or variables we have, everything through inheritance, parent class properties belongs to child class also. So in this scenario, we can create object for this intermediate class. But here we can't create for A, we can't create for B also. There should be C, which is implementing all this and doing the uh, object creation and all those things. Yeah, clear? Clear or not? Sure? Any doubts or sure? Tell me guys. Sure? Okay, write the code. Abstract class A. In this, I have one X variable and then another abstract class B, which extends class A. In this also, I have one instance variable Y. So my output should be, if you print X, then it should print 100. If you print Y, it should print 200. Please write the code. I'll give you 5 minutes. First, to initialize the variable or instance variable, you should have a constructor. So the constructor in this class A is public A. It needs to initialize one instance variable called integer X. Therefore, same thing. What's the code? This dot X equals X. Then to initialize instance variables of this class B, here we should have a constructor called as public. Constructor name is same as the class name. Here also one integer type of input. So we can go with the same variable name. That's a professional approach. Then to initialize this dot Y equals Y. So since we can't create object for class A and also class B, so therefore there should be a class C. So this class C, what we should do? Inherit extends which class? B class. Then inside this class C, what we can have? A constructor. Yes or no? So public, then C. So here no need of any parameters because no instance variables are there to initialize. But inside this, how to call parent class constructor from child class? Super function. Super function. And what type of constructor is existing in parent class? Because B is parent of C. So therefore, yeah, some integer type of constructor. So, but this will initialize what value? Y. But how much we are expecting? 200. Therefore, so here 200. This will initialize Y. But to initialize this, its parent class. So inside this B, constructor B. So here we have to use again super function call. What's the value to be associated to X variable? 100. So then finally, we can create object for, so some class, some test class. Inside this class, public static void main, and inside this main, create object for C, some C1 equals new C, and in C class constructor is no arguments, don't pass anything. Then followed by system.out.println C1 dot X we can print, and C1 dot Y also we can print because it is indirect child. So this will give 100 and 200. Clear? Without? Class C extends A. Class C also should extend A. Or one more class to extend A. Otherwise. This value. No, so here super of this value we have to pass. So without this one, without this one, so without B class constructor, we can't initialize X variable. B class should have constructor mandatory. Super call should be mandatory. So because if you are using super of this one, then here, if you don't have such type of constructor, yeah, so then this is super call will not initialize this. We should have the match to constructor only here also. Understood? Constructor chain will miss. You are thinking that from C class only if you are using super of 200 some value without having this initialization, will it initialize X variable? No. Chain will miss. Constructor chain will miss. Hmm. From class C we cannot give, I'm saying. A class X variable we can't initialize from C class. It has to go through B class only. Because if here super call will call its parent, not the other parent, super parent, immediate parent only. That's a constructor chain is missing. If you skip that, constructor chain will miss. Otherwise, super of no arguments will be added by compiler. That is missing. So here, if you don't write, what will happen? Compiler will add super of no argument. This is by default. Compiler will add for every constructor. If program is not writing, then super of no arguments, is it there? No. For a child class constructor to exist, there should be a parent class constructor of same type. Then that chain will miss if you don't write it. Yeah. So with that, we are done with abstract class and abstract methods and the other properties of this abstract class, cross questioning and all those answers. Then let's move to the next concept called interface. So first, what is this interface? So interface is like a class. It's also like a class. What interface will have? Interface will have final variables and default methods. Sorry, final variables and abstract methods. Final variables and abstract methods. And next property, it's not possible to create object for interface. It's not possible to create object for interface. So these are the properties of an interface. What is the extra thing? Abstract class will have both abstract methods and concrete methods, but interface will have only abstract methods. That's all. It will not have a concrete methods. And interface also will have final variables. Yeah. So this is the introduction of or what is interface first of all. Then what is syntax? The syntax of interface is for a class, what will use? Class followed by class name. Then for this interface space programmer defined interface name. Then open and close flower brackets. This is the syntax of a interface. For example, interface, some interface name 1, then the corresponding body. This is the one example for this. But one recommendation is, if I am not showing what is my file, I'll give you the name called 1. I'll give you a name called 1. Okay, you can use it. Then is it a class or interface? My point is, I'll give you a class name. I will not show my code, but I'll give a name. I'll give you one name. I'm not saying it is what. I'll give you one name called, say, 1. ONE1 is a name I'm giving. Okay. Then I'm asking you to use it. Then you use it like a class or you use it like interface. But if it is not class in my code, confusion, right? That's why the recommended approach is interface names should start with I. I want to give my interface name called test, but test can be class also. Then how do you differentiate? That's why I test, I1, I interface, like that. It is recommended, but we don't follow. Yeah, it's recommended to use capital I for interface name, because if you remember it long ago in naming standards, we discussed interface names also will follow Pascal naming standards. Yeah, so therefore it should start with capital letter. So capital I, then next word also again should start with capital letter. That's why 1. So O should be capital. So that is a standard approach or standard way to create one interfaces. Clear now? The next, if I take one interface example, what interface will have? Final variables. Okay. First, I'll take one interface, say I1 or I, my interface is the camel naming standard of interface name. I'm following the naming standards, that's all. What it will have? It will have a final variables. For example, if we take int x equals 100, semicolon. Yeah. What is final variable means? First of all, it is not a time to discuss about this. All this final is one keyword, okay, which can be applied on variables, methods, and classes also. That we'll discuss later. So final is the keyword. Final is predefined keyword. If we apply this final keyword for variables, then what will happen? The value of variable is not possible to modify. The value of variable is not possible to modify. So I'm taking a variable called x and I'm assigning a value called 100. No one should change it. If they're trying to change, if they're trying to modify or update or change, then it should give error. So therefore, we have to make this as a final. Yeah. So here int x equals to 100. So this is one variable. Is it a final variable? Is this the final variable or not final variable? Not a final variable. For example, if you take one class, if you take a class A, inside this class, if I take int x equals 100, then is it final? Is it final? No. So this is not a final variable. Then for that final variable, or to make it final variable, what we should do? So final is the keyword we have to use. Then data type say int, then variable say y equals some different value. Then this is a final variable. This is the final variable. Correct? So in a class, you have to write the code like this. If you make this final variable, then you try to modify, immediately will get error. Will get error. You can't, if you want, you can check it. Okay. But when we write like this, if I write like this, int x equals 100 inside interface, it's not a class. Then is it a final variable or not? It's my first question. So I did not say like that. I said interface will have a final variables. So my question is it a final variable or not? Okay. The next syntax I'll write. So I'll write a syntax of final int a different variable, say y equals 200. Is it a final variable? Yes or no? Yeah. So the next syntax I would like to write static final int z equals some value. Is it a final variable? Yeah. If you don't know, also just guess and say yes or no. Yes. Final keyword is there. So therefore, final. The next one, public static final int some w equals 400. Correct? Yes or no? Final keyword is there. Yes. Yeah. So even though we are writing like this, inside interface, compiler will add all these things. Even though we are writing like this, compiler will add public static. Even though we are writing like this, compiler will add a public. So therefore, all these are final variables. By default, a variable inside interface is final. Whether you use final keyword or whether you use static keyword for that or you use public X mode for that, it doesn't matter because internally compiler will add, not JVM. Compiler will add final keyword with public static final to every variable inside interface. Understood? Yeah. Then in the next line, inside this interface only, if you try to modify this, this is the opening and closing of interface. If you try to modify any of these things, says for example x equal to 500, then immediately will get the compile time error. X is final. What is the meaning of final? The value of variable is not possible to modify. So I'm trying to modify. Modification means don't use data type, only variable name with a different value to be assigned. First class, int age equals some number. We discussed one example. So that is not possible here. That is a property of a variable inside interface called by default. So I didn't write here. So because of all these things, what will happen? The point is for all these things, the point is by default, all variables inside interface are what? Public static final. Clear? Yeah. So since previous classes overriding, inheritance and all those things you are aware of, just let me tell you the syntax of how to create one interface. Just observe after discussing everything, I'll ask a question. So in our OOPS project, inside this project, somewhere we have some error. I'll just check it. What is this? Maybe some points we might have discussed. Okay. So this is not the current point. Inside this project, how to create one package? Go for new package. So I'll create com dot visible campus dot interface is a keyword or not? Yes. So here I'm using interface demo. It's the package name. Inside this, I'll create a new class. So, but this time I'm not creating a class. Shall I create? Okay, I'll create the class say test or some test 100 because there are so many test class are there already. So I'll click on finish. Yeah, 100 is not there. Then how to create one interface? Directly also we can create it. Directly also we can create it. So where is that package? So here, yeah. Right click, go to new, and you can see somewhere after class, you can see interface. Interface, click on it, give the interface name, say I1 is the interface, finish. This is the syntax of interface. Public interface I1. What interface will have? Final variables. Final variables. So for that, I'm taking int x equals 100. Yeah. Are we giving public static final? No. Still, is it a final variable or not? So then I am trying to modify. What happened? It's not possible to modify. You can see here is the error. What is that? Syntax error on token, semicolon, something, something is expected is a error. Yeah. So because we are trying to modify, previous line is error. Now I don't modify, it's accepted. Then what's the other part of syntax we discussed? Final int, final int, say y equals 200. Accepted. The next static int final, sorry, static final int some variable equals some value. The next public static final, then some other type also, no problem. It's not only integer, it can be applied to any types as well. So float f equals some 3.145 f. Yeah. So this is about the first part of this. What is the next thing that we discussed? Is it possible to create the object for final class? Sorry, interfaces? No. So here, I'll go to this main method. I'll go to this main method to access other class code. What is the approach? Object creation. What is the interface name? I1, then some I1 equals new I1. Accepted? No, it is not possible to create the object for the interface. It's not possible. Yeah, understood? So in inside interface, how many variables we have? Inside this interface, how many variables we have? 4 variables, x, y, z, f. I want to print them. How to print? How to print these values from main method? That I don't know. So far, whatever we have discussed, based on that only answer. Object creation, print f. Error. Yeah. So in last class we discussed static variables are object specific or class specific. Class specific. Remember or forgot? Class static variables, static methods can be accessed by class name, not recommended by object name, even though it's possible. Yes or no? Here also, X is what type of member? Static. Final is also there, but the point is static. If it is static, come on, guys. Not here. Where is it I used? Yeah. This slide is talking about what? What is this a dot x, a dot m1? Here. Why we are using a? Because x is what type? Static type. Can we create the object? Yes, we can. Can we print it by using object? Yes or no, guys? Can we create the object and can we print by using object name? Possible, but recommended or not recommended? Not recommended. What is the recommended approach? Use the class name because it is faster. Same thing here also. Currently here inside interface, the members are what type? Static type. Then how to access static members? By using the entity name. So what is the entity name? I1. Yes or no? I1 dot X variable. So what is I1? The name of the interface. Yeah. So because of static, always static members are entity specific. Then that entity can be class or interface. So we can access them by using the entity name. Clear? So now we can access I1 dot X, I1 dot Y, Z also, all those things. And if you want, I'll execute control F11. You can see X value is output. We are accessing, we are not modifying. Am I going fast? Are you getting me? So interface will have final variables and abstract methods. So first part only I'm there. Only we are discussing about final variables. And if the final variables, even though we are writing this way, the compiler will add all these things to each and every variable of interface. From where you will access main method? Yeah, we can access. Your question is, for example, there is a class. There is a class, some class ABCD, and inside this, I have one method called public static void em is my method. And inside this, what is the class name? Test 100 dot, what's the main method name? Main. That's it. Yeah, because main method is static, we can access by class name. Yeah. So this is interface variable names can be accessed by using the interface name because we can't create the object for that. We can't create object for interface. Clear? Any questions? Clear? Yes or no? Then next here, if you notice, if you're observing this, what is this? Interface. What is this access modifier? Public. Yeah. Did you notice? Did you notice what did I execute in Eclipse? What did we take? A test class, test 100, something. What is the other entity we took? We took interface called I1. What is the file extension of Java? File extension of Java. If you create a class, then what is the file name? A.java. Now what did I do? We have created one test 100 class. What's the file extension? Test 100.java. Correct? We have created one interface. What's interface name? What is interface name? I1. What is file extension? I1.java. I1 dot. I said I'll ask a question also. Did you check? Did you notice or you are just guessing? Guessing. Okay, you go and check. So next, what second property? Interface will have a abstract methods. So then here I'll take one example. I'll take one interface. Interface, some interface name I2. This is the interface. So inside this interface, what interface will have? Concrete methods or only abstract methods? Abstract methods only. If the point is not so clear, I'll add that only word also. But at this point of time, it's not right because Java 1.8 has changed the rules. Okay, that's why let me politically write. So they will not change. So then here examples are like public method I'm writing. Abstract method means with body or without body? Without body. Public void m1 parenthesis semicolon. Correct or incorrect? Now this is correct or incorrect? Yes or no? No. Interface will have abstract methods. What is syntax of abstract method? We know in abstract classes. Now with that you just think and tell me it's correct or incorrect. Correct. Okay. I'll write one more. Public abstract void m2. Huh? Okay. Second line is correct or incorrect? Second line is correct. Then what's the difference between first line and second line? Therefore, first line is correct or incorrect? Semicolon won't be there. Only semicolon will be there. So for this, the body should be there. But interface will have methods with body. Only upside. Okay. Reason is but interface will not have a concrete methods. Therefore, two errors can't be. Tell me one error only. Not there. Okay. Done. The next example. I'll take one abstract void m3. Correct. This is correct. So abstract keyword is there. That's why. Okay. Then void m4. Correct. Okay. So then here also all are correct only. All are correct. The point is by default, by default, all methods in interface are what? By default, all methods in interface are what methods? Abstract methods. Public abstract. Public abstract by default. Interface cannot have a methods with some other access modifier. Even though it's abstract, we can't have protected abstract void some method name. We can't have a default abstract void something. It's not by default. Here for every method, this will be added by compiler. Whether we add or we don't add, this will be added by compiler. So even here also, abstract keyword will be added by compiler. Then here public will be added by compiler. Here public and abstract will be added by compiler only. Yeah. Abstract class, abstract methods, it's mandatory for a programmer to declare abstract keyword. Are you getting me? So here, so there is a class called abstract class. Abstract class, some class A. Inside this class, I am taking one method, public void m2. Correct? Correct or incorrect? Think. Void m3. Correct? Incorrect. Because this is what? Class abstract. Therefore, abstract keyword is mandatory or not mandatory? Either give the body or use abstract keyword. So here we are not giving the body. We are ending with semicolon. Therefore, abstract keyword is mandatory. Otherwise, this is wrong. This is also wrong only. But in interface, by default, all methods in interface are public abstract. Clear? You have a bike or cycle? Do you have bike and cycle? You come by cycle or bus? Bike? Have I answered your question? So this is about the introduction of interface. So interface will have final variables and also abstract methods. Then if interface has abstract methods, then what's the purpose of those abstract methods? Someone read the second statement. No, interface will have abstract methods. Then what's purpose of those methods without body? No purpose. Therefore, some entity has to implement. Which entity? So my question is, there is one interface. There is one interface. An interface name, say I1. And inside this interface, I'll take one method, public abstract void fun is a method which is abstract. Then which which entity has to give the body for this? Who has to give the body? Otherwise, it's meaningless. Correct or not? Then which entity has to give the body? Another interface. Another interface can give the body. No, therefore a class only. A class only has to give the body. Then how to use this interface inside a class or interface methods inside a class? How to access? Through inheritance can be done with interface in class or both classes. Okay. Then here I'll take one class. I'll take a class, some class test. Next, what's the keyword? Extends. Extends or no? The class test. So for a class to use an interface, the keyword is implements. Implements is a keyword. Implements, extends. Okay, implements. Then what's the name of the interface? I1. Then all the methods or all the variables and methods which belongs to interface are now the members of this class. The class has the members of the interface now with the help of implements keyword. Yeah. Then inside this class body, now what's the responsibility of this class? If interface has any variable, it's what type of variable? Final variable. So can this class access the interface method variables? Yes. Then can this class implement the body? Yes or no? Now the responsibility of this test class is it is a contract between the interface and the class that okay, I am the contractor, I am a contractor. Okay, I'm going to do the work for you. So the class is a contract here between the interface and the class. There is a contract between this interface to a class. Now class has to implement the methods of the interface. Then how to implement the method? Use the same access modifier. Yes or no? Then while giving the body, abstract keyword is required. For concrete methods, abstract keyword will be there? No. Then go for return type. Then go for method name, same parameters. Then write the code. Yeah. So this is how. What is this process? What this process is? Exactly. This is called as overriding. The implemented class. Don't call it as child class because the parent is the not class. The implemented class is overriding the interface method to give the body. So by following same rules of same access modifier, same return type, same method name, same inputs, but different logic. Clear? Clear? The next example, there is one more interface. So how to create this object for test class and how to execute this body and all, we already know. Okay. Then interface, the I2 is one interface. Inside this interface, I have two methods, public void M1 and also public void M2. Then which entity has to implement these methods? Class, implemented class. Then class, so I'll take this class as class A. What's the syntax? Implements the interface name I2. Now what is the responsibility of this class? Implements methods. So previously I1 interface has only one method Therefore, this class test has implemented that one method. Now in this I2 interface, there are two methods. What type of methods they are? Abstract methods. Then class responsibility is what? Class A has to give the body for all abstract methods of this interface because it is contract. Yeah, we can also use this term called contract. Then this class A don't want to give the body for all. It wants to give the body for only one method. Then what is the possibility? Add abstract to the class. Because A is a class. A class has how many abstract methods? Two abstract methods. If a class has at least one abstract method, then what's the rule? Declare the class as a abstract class. Now here, even though if we implement public void m1 and its body is given, but this A class has how many methods? Two methods, which is coming from the interface. So at least one abstract method is there. M2 is abstract method, which belongs to A also now. Then what is the way to exist? Either give the body for M2 also, or declare this self as abstract, or declare the class as a abstract class is the way to exist. Same as like abstract class has two interface methods, sorry, two abstract methods, one only required to implement. Then what about others? Either give the body for all or declare the class as abstract. Understood? Yeah, clear? So with this, I'll stop. Please practice all these things. Understanding and remembering is not sufficient. So please practice. And if you have any questions, we'll discuss in tomorrow's class. It will be more interesting in tomorrow.